Hello, I'm Michael Coliani, Public Affairs and Media Relations Director for your Arizona Game and Fish Department. And today on Arizona Wildlife Views, a look at how Arizona Game and Fish is helping the Utah Department of Natural Resources grow its bighorn sheep population. Plus, finding new innovative ways to study how raptors migrate across Arizona. And later, bird, fish, mammal, or reptile, we've got some places for putting you on a lifelong journey of wildlife watching. We've got all these stories and more. Arizona Wildlife Views starts right now.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
A combined effort between Arizona and Utah biologists is helping to grow the bighorn sheep population in the Southwest. Video producer Sean Gates shows us how some bighorn sheep from an Arizona mining town have a new home thanks to a coordinated effort between some conservation-minded biologists.
Not all sheep are going to be accessible or available to us. Some of them are going to be in areas where we just can't get to.
With wildlife management, sometimes one agency's problem is another agency's solution. This is the case in the Morenci-Clifton area in eastern Arizona, where bighorn sheep have roamed throughout the community for years.
This project is twofold. We are giving bighorn sheep to Utah for them to augment a population, but it's also to help us control the number of animals in Clifton and Morenci and try to limit the vehicle collisions with bighorn sheep and the challenges we have when bighorn sheep and people come together.
It was something that met Arizona's management needs to kind of thin out some sheep density in this area, and it met our management needs by kind of bolstering our nursery herd. So this is an augmentation to diversify the genetics a little bit. It really came about by just conversations through us in Arizona, as well as KUIU.
KUIU is a high-performance hunting gear company that funds conservation projects and supports each project with hands-on volunteers.
In 2020, we moved 25 sheep to Antelope Island in Utah. And I said, well, do you want to move some more? And I just said, we'd love to fund the Arizona side. And yeah, that's kind of how it came about, just conservation people doing conservation stuff. It's a totally complicated issue, but when you can eliminate some of those sheep and move them to a new place, to new habitat where they're going to be used to supplement, the state of Utah and other places for creating new bighorn herds, it's just a huge win-win.
Arizona Game and Fish has been removing and relocating bighorn sheep from this area since 2005. This process benefits the community as well as the population of bighorn sheep, but the level of difficulty in doing so requires a well-thought-out plan.
We've got neighbors popping up out of houses, we've got private property we have to deal with, we have vehicles on the road, and on top of that, we're working with a local mining company, and we have safety things that we have to address with those also. So it can be pretty challenging.
Nothing goes as planned. You just have to be able to roll with the punches.
We had sheep in here yesterday that we could have flung a couple more darts in, but they were in really, really precarious spots.
They're sitting put for now, so I think we're okay.
If it's in a situation where we're not comfortable with sending a recovery team in to go and get that sheep, then we're not gonna try and dart.
All right, good job.
To guarantee a successful handoff, the sheep get a medical checkup prior to their road trip to Utah.
These sheep need to be free of any diseases. Based on our past testing and sampling that we've done here over the past 3 to 5 years, we're pretty certain that they are, but diseases can come in at any time, so we need to make sure that they still are free of any disease. The thing that we try and get done first is get those ear tags in and then get some blood samples and the biological samples that we need. Meanwhile, I'm doing some treatments on them, giving them a medication to rid them of any parasites, giving them something to deal with the stress, an anti-inflammatory injection, and then if they need additional medication like antibiotics based on our exam, we'll go ahead and give that as well. The idea is to get them back to normal as soon as possible and in a stress-free environment as soon as possible.
A helicopter crew is used on the outskirts of town and in the surrounding area to supplement the number of sheep removed from town. Wrangling bighorn sheep from a chopper in their natural habitat provides its own set of challenges.
Try to get the sheep under control, get a blindfold on the sheep, get the hobbles on the sheep, so we can cinch it up and pick it up with the helicopter.
We love working with Arizona, and Arizona Game and Fish has been amazing to work with, along with the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society.
We've had a great relationship with Arizona. We've given them pronghorn in the past. They've given us bighorn sheep in the past. Utah Wild Sheep Foundation and Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife that are also contributing to this project to fund it and get it off the ground. So it's been a really cool collaboration.
We're glad to be able to participate, and not only in the funding, but to actually come here and do the work.
28 bighorn sheep now have a new place to roam and call home, thanks to the combined efforts of 2 states, a passionate deer hunting company, and many volunteers dedicated to the work of wildlife conservation.
Still ahead on Arizona Wildlife Views, in State 48, it's pretty likely that at some point you'll come across some wildlife, and we'll give you some tips if you ever come across a mountain lion. But first, we'll take a look at how Arizona Game and Fish biologists are using tiny transmitters on the backs of raptors to track their movements across the state.
You've heard of fly fishing, but what about sky fishing?
We've caught 2 red tails and a Cooper's hawk.
I'm gonna hand you this pigeon. That's all right, buddy. Your work's done here. Your work's done.
Using live pigeons as bait, these Arizona Game and Fish biologists are trying to catch birds of prey that are flying south for the winter.
Run it through the ring behind you.
Yeah, the goal of this project is really to learn more about how raptors are migrating through Arizona and identify those important habitats.
Knowing which routes they use the most will help Game and Fish conserve and protect those high-traffic flyways.
One of the big things that concerns that there are is that we put up wind turbines in areas where we've got high concentrations of migrating raptors, and we just want to make sure that we avoid that.
The Aubrey Valley near Seligman, Arizona is a known hotspot for raptor migration.
Got this valley here, low valley, with these sharp rise to the cliffs. And so any wind blowing creates an updraft for the raptors to ride along and migrate south with little to no effort.
It's a site that we've done migration counts before, and it's a site that we've seen some of the higher concentrations of migrating raptors.
Is that a prairie falcon? I couldn't tell.
It's very difficult to catch raptors. We're bringing them in by luring them with a live pigeon, which has a little jacket on him. So if the raptor does get a hold of it, it'll protect that pigeon.
The protective leather jacket is tied to strings that the biologists can manipulate from their blind.
So Kyle here is hopping this pigeon up into the air, and the pigeon's flopping, and then he's catching them as he comes back down. What that's signaling is a bird in distress to these raptors as they're flying by. And if they're hungry at all, they'll come check it out because they think it's a good, easy meal for them. We had a kestrel that did a quick flyby. Our overall objective is to trap some of those larger bootios species, red-tailed hawks, ferruginous hawks, Swainson's hawks, at which point we'll be able to put a transmitter on them, and we'll use that transmitter to track their migration throughout Arizona.
When a raptor approaches, they pull the pigeon into a trap that they'll spring once the raptor is in position.
We've got a young red-tailed hawk. Looks like a small guy, so we may not put a transmitter on him. So we're going to take a handful of measurements.
They band the bird so it can be identified at future sightings.
She's bigger than the others that we've had.
By weighing the raptor, they find out if it's big enough to carry a transmitter.
The transmitters we're using, we make sure they're less than 3% their body weight.
This juvenile red-tailed hawk is a bit too small, so it's released back into the wild without a transmitter. None of the birds captured here in 2019 was large enough for a transmitter. But in 2020, the biologists had access to smaller transmitters, which made a huge difference.
Yeah, we had some success. We did get transmitters out on 4 or 5 different species now. That's exciting that we have multiple species that we can look at because they all behave a little bit differently.
These solar-powered units should last for years. Most are programmed to transmit location information and other data every day or two using cell phone networks.
I've been checking them every day just because it's something new every day.
Among the birds he's tracking is a Swainson's hawk that made its way to Colombia, and a red-tailed hawk that's wintering in a coastal town that many Arizonans are familiar with.
It migrated down toward Rocky Point in Mexico. It's using some more coastal areas. It's also using some areas within the town itself of Rocky Point.
This project started in the fall of 2019. The biologists plan to deploy more transmitters each year until they have a much better understanding of Arizona's migratory flyways.
Yeah, there's always something to learn, and it's better to learn it this way so that you don't find it out the hard way in building infrastructure or wind turbines right in the path of these migrating raptors.
Mountain lion sightings are pretty routine in the Tucson area, and if you're on a trail and you see one from a distance, no cause for undue alarm. Keep your eyes on it and don't move any closer to it. But if you see a mountain lion staring intently at you or progressively moving toward you, you should take action. If you're walking on a trail and you see a mountain lion approaching you or staring at you, stop, stand upright, wave your arms, yell, "Hey, hey, hey, cat!" If you've got something like a whistle on you or an air horn, use it. If you have objects that you can throw, pitch them at the lion. But don't bend down to get anything. You'll get smaller, not bigger. And last but not least, maintain direct eye contact with the mountain lion. Remove your sunglasses if need be and stare at it. Make it think you're more dangerous to it than it is to you.
Wildlife viewing in Arizona is a popular pastime, and with over 800 species across the state, there are plenty of animals to see.
There is, and it depends on the season, where you would want to go and what you would want to see and what your focus is. So there's people that specifically focus on viewing mammals, right? Things like, let's say, elk. And there's people that focus on viewing birds, birders, that are really passionate about their hobby and their pastime.
Jeff Myers is the Watchville Wildlife Program Manager for the Arizona Game and Fish Department.
And then there's herpers, and herpers refers to herpetology, people that focus on viewing reptiles and amphibians. And Arizona is the #1 herper state within the country. People travel here from all over the country and indeed all over the world to look at our reptiles and amphibians because we have some really unique species here.
There's another one too to your left.
Jeff's wildlife watching program is able to give people the chance to experience wildlife for themselves.
The program itself takes people out on some pretty cool events that we have, that we could take people out and show them this wildlife and how to view it in an appropriate manner.
Arizona's diverse wildlife draws people here from all over the country.
We have really unique breeding grounds for amphibians, and we have some of the best birding anywhere in the continental U.S. In the southeast corner of the state, we get a great diversity of hummingbird species that people come from all over to see. And Arizona, because it's a large state and because it has a great difference in topography. So there's areas in the western portion of the state along the Colorado River that are very low elevation and they get extraordinarily hot. And there's areas in the state that go up to over 12,000 feet. So we have areas that are very large stands of ponderosa pine forests. And it's a very diverse state, and because it's so diverse, we also have a great diversity in our wildlife species. Everyone has something unique that they want to see and they want to focus on, and Arizona has something for everybody.
With excursions like bighorn sheep viewing on Canyon Lake, the Watchable Wildlife Program provides unique and fun experiences for people of all ages.
And the two things that you're going to look for, white butt, and on the rams, they have that big curled horn. That curve will catch your eye.
You're going to see an area with a bunch of vegetation.
Cheyenne Town is the Wildlife Viewing Program coordinator.
It's pretty spectacular. We go out on Canyon Lake super early in the morning, in the middle of June. It's hot, but we go really early, so it's not too bad. But we go out on the lake, beautiful lake here in Arizona, Canyon Lake is, and we go find sheep. And we view sheep from the pontoon boats. We talk about them, give backgrounds about them, natural history, all that kinds of stuff. And you get to see them up close, which is really nice for folks. And you get to see the dynamics of the sheep, and we kind of interpret what's going on at that time as well. So that's probably one of my favorites. Although it's a really early morning, it's totally worth it.
We teach people how to spot bighorn sheep effectively on their own. We also point out the sheep so they can see them, and frequently we'll get close, 30, 40 feet away. They're big, majestic animals, and they get to see these animals up close, they get to see their behavior, and they get to photograph them, which is a really popular event. We actually host a few of them that are specifically geared for photographers. So we stay out a little bit longer and we put fewer people on the boat so people have room to maneuver their sometimes big lenses that they're using to get the photographs that they're after. Bighorn sheep has to be my all-time favorite event. We do 2 public events a year in Wickenburg, Bats and Buzzards and All Vultures Eve. And those events are really focused on the phenomenal sight of seeing all the turkey vultures that are circling and kettling, landing in a tree to roost for the night, or even going under the bridge in this case and looking at 10,000 Mexican free-tailed bats that will fly out at sunset. We get to talk to the people that attend, we get to give a little bit of education to them, and then provide opportunities for them that they may not have otherwise to get closer to wildlife. In this case, I'm talking optically. So we provide binoculars and spotting scopes so people can see things in much greater detail from a good distance. Elk Workshop is done once a year, usually around the 3rd or 4th week of August. We hold classes and they get a lecture about elk, so they learn about elk, After the presentation, the people kind of caravan along Lake Mary Road and go down to a viewing location that has been pre-scouted where the elk are located. And then they go out and view elk, sometimes hundreds of them, out on Mormon Lake. It's really cool. And we have a bunch of binoculars and spotting scopes set up so people can get a much closer view from the safety of that distance from the elk.
And with a wildlife viewing program for Arizona Game and Fish, we get to do events like this, come out, see you guys, get bats up and close and personal so you get to see them and hopefully not be scared of it anymore.
At Boyce Thompson Arboretum, we do bat netting events. What we do is we get there a little early and we set up nets at various locations that are designed to safely trap the bats. And then the public arrives and we give them kind of an engaging, I hope, talk about bats. And then we hope at that point we have some bats in the nets and we have some trained biologists that carefully remove the bats and they bring them to us. And then we process the bats for general information, just kind of baseline data, what the species is, what the gender is, things like that. We record that data, but the whole time the public gets to really see these bats up close and gets to watch the scientists at work. And then we take the bats around and show them to people up close. Of course, people can't touch the bats, but they can get pretty close, a couple feet away, and they can take pictures and they can see the behavior and can see that different species have different behaviors. And then we let the bats go and they go about their business.
Fly, be free, little girl. All right, little man.
It's really a fun event. People really seem to enjoy this. We get some people that come back to 2 or 3 bat nettings every year, year after year after year. So we're lucky to have the Wildlife Center at Arizona Game and Fish. We have some ambassador animals there, and sometimes those animals with an expert handler like Nancy will join us at our events so they get to meet these ambassador animals live, or at least see them depending on if it's a virtual event or not. We host a series, wildlife lecture series of virtual events. And these have a really broad appeal. We have one coming up on rattlesnakes, and we have about 50 people signed up from all over the country to see this event. And what we're doing is educating people, and typically what we do is we kind of start with a natural history of whatever the group of critters or the individual critter that we're talking about is. And we start with a natural history. In other words, how did this animal come to be where it is and how it is? And then we talk about that animal in a global picture, a national picture, a state picture, as we kind of focus down on that. The advantage to doing these virtually is that people don't have to leave their home. They can see this and learn about our wonderful wildlife from the comfort of their own home. So we have several streaming wildlife cameras. And what these cameras do is they stream 24/7, particularly during the season of these animals. For example, there's one on the sandhill cranes. And why they're really cool is because they give you an opportunity to get this intimate look into the daily lives of certain species of wildlife. See how they behave when there aren't people around, which is really the whole goal of wildlife viewing, because we don't want to influence behavior, we want to see natural behaviors. And that's what these cameras really enable us to do, day or night. Most of these cameras have infrared lights which don't bother the wildlife at all, but they give us the ability to see that wildlife at night. We have one on bats in a bat roost, so you can see the bats during the day. It's amazing that they can function because it doesn't seem like they ever really rest. We have one on sandhill cranes, and we're always looking for new opportunities to install these streaming wildlife cams to give the public an opportunity to see these animals from the comfort of their own home. We have people from more than 42 countries around the world tune in to see our wildlife cams, and more than 30 states around the United States itself. An excellent way to keep in touch with the program and to learn more about what we do would be through the Arizona Game and Fish website.
Go to azgfd.gov/wildlife viewing, and that'll take them right to our page. It's going to say register for an event. Click on that link and it'll take you right to all the different events you're going to see on there.
We do a lot of programs. In any given year, we do between 40 and 50 different types of programs. These range from virtual events to in real life events that we do at various locations throughout the state. The program consists of two of us, myself and Cheyenne, who is the coordinator for the program, and we put on these programs together. I really hope that people have a once-in-a-lifetime experience, that they come away with more knowledge about wildlife, and that they come away with more respect for the intrinsic value of the wildlife itself.
That's going to do it for this edition of our show. But until next time, remember, get out there and enjoy those Arizona wildlife views.
To subscribe to Arizona Wildlife Views magazine, which includes the Arizona Wildlife Views calendar, visit www.azgfd.gov/magazine.